Good morning, everyone. Boker Tov. This Shabbat is going to be the final Shabbat of the Jewish year 5784, because the following Wednesday night will be Rosh Hashanah. And what is the Torah portion that will be read in synagogues around the world? Nitzavim. And how does Nitzavim begin? With God's message to the Jewish people for the new year. Atem Nitzavim Hayom Kulchem Lefnei Hashem Elokechem. Today you will be standing, all of you together as an entire Jewish nation before Almighty God. And our rabbis say that this is referring to Rosh Hashanah, the day of judgment, when Jews around the world will stand to hear the shofar and be judged by God over the past year and be inscribed in the book of life for the coming year. Now we know that the high holidays are known as Yimei Hadin, the days of judgment, where God scrutinizes, analyzes, and judges us for our actions over the past year. But more important than God judging us is we have to judge ourselves. We have to reflect on the past year and ask ourselves, did we live and conduct ourselves and act in a way that is befitting for each and every one of us? As a matter of fact, one of the words in the confession that we say is, God, we admit we've strayed mitzvasecha mishpatecha, from your righteousness and your path, velo shavalanu, and it was not worth it for us. And the question is, what does it mean to admit we've sinned, we've strayed from the righteous path, and it wasn't worth it? Imagine someone who steals money, God forbid, gets caught, goes to jail, and then he confesses his sin, and he says, I'm so sorry I stole the money, because you know what, it wasn't worth it. Look what happened, I ended up in jail. That's not a reason to confess. Confession has to be from a place of genuine regret and remorse for what you did, not because it wasn't worth it. As sometimes people say, you know what, it wasn't worth it. And a beautiful answer is that the word shaveh in Hebrew, if you translate it literally, it means equal, shaveh. And what we're really saying is, this deed, this act, this behavior, the way we conducted ourselves, lo shaveh lanu, wasn't equal, wasn't equivalent to who we are. We know we are much better. We are capable of much more. And therefore, the regret is that we didn't act to our full potential. And therefore, the resolution for the coming year is that I'm going to be better because I'm capable of more. I want to act in a way that is equivalent to my strengths, to my inner goodness that I know I possess. And that's what we should think about going into Rosh Hashanah. Of course, we want God and the angels to inscribe us for a good year and to judge us favorably. And we want others to judge us favorably. But the most important thing is, can you look in the mirror and judge yourself favorably? Can you see your inner goodness and your inner potential? And once you know what you're capable of, and you have a vision of your higher self, then you will surely act on it. I tell a story of a man who was convicted or charged with murder. And there was a trial. And the evidence was all stacked up against him terribly. And it looked like it was a foregone conclusion that the jury was going to find him guilty. And so his defense attorney, when it came to the closing arguments, got up in front of the jury and said, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I want you to know that we have been doing our own investigation, and we have apprehended, we have found the real murderer. And it's not my client. And we've convinced the murderer to come into court and admit his guilt. And in about 1 minute, at 12 o'clock, the murderer is going to walk through the courtroom doors, get up on the witness stand, I'm going to call him up, and he's going to admit his guilt. Everyone, the judge, the jury, everyone was shocked. They waited a minute, everyone looked to the door, waited, 12 o'clock, 12:01, 12:02. Finally, at 12:05, the defense attorney got up and said, obviously, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is not true. Everything I said is a lie. But let me tell you why I did it. You see, in order for you to convict my client, you have to be certain beyond a reasonable doubt. He said, I noticed that every single one of you, including the judge, looked to the door at 12 o'clock, waiting for the true murderer to come through the door. That tells me you're not convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that my client is guilty, and therefore you must acquit him. And the defense attorney sat down. The jury went into deliberation, came back a few hours later with a guilty charge that the client is guilty for murder. The defense attorney rose and said, but how could it be? You all looked to the door. The judge, the jury, you clearly weren't certain that he was guilty. You had a doubt. And the foreman of the jury said, I'll tell you why we found him guilty. Because it's true. We did all look to the door. The judge did look to the door. But there was one person in the courtroom who didn't look to the door. And that was your client. And that's because he was convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that he was guilty. And therefore he did not look. And therefore we found him guilty. The most important thing on Rosh Hashanah is to see a vision of your potential, of your capabilities. And God says, when you stand here, you will remain standing. Nitzavim means you will succeed in judgment. God blesses us that you will succeed in judgment. And the key to doing that is to see what you're capable of. And then you will follow your inner path to your own potential and have a blessed and successful year. Have a wonderful day.